This is Ken, your partner in prayer, back at you again. And today, I want to talk about the difference between saying a prayer and praying a prayer. There is a difference. And some of you who are parents, or maybe your parents taught you this, when the bedtime would come, they would say, come on now and say your prayers. Say your prayers. And you would say, Lord, lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And then you tell your mother, yes, I said my prayers, but you didn't pray a prayer. Are you getting what I'm saying? The difference is saying a prayer comes from your head, comes from your mind or from what you heard someone else say in prayer. But to pray a prayer comes from the heart. That's different. That's not something that someone taught you to pray. It is the Spirit that quickens you to pray a prayer. You remember in the book of 2 Samuel, I believe, when David wanted to build God a temple. But because he was a man of war and had shed much blood upon the earth, the Lord didn't allow him to do that. He said, but I'll let your son do it. In his days, there will be peace. And so the prophet told David that news that God wouldn't allow him to build it because of those reasons. But then he said, nevertheless, you did good in that it was in your heart. And because it was in your heart, the Lord has said to you, he is going to build you a house. And he began to tell David prophetically how God was going to establish his throne to bring the Messiah. You get what I'm saying? And how his kingdom would have no end. And after Nathan began to share with David the word of the Lord, the Bible said it overwhelmed him and he just sat down in his chair before the Lord. And he thought about how God was going to build him a house. And then he began to pray to God based on what God said to him. And in concluding his prayer, he said this, watch carefully. Therefore hath thy servant found in his heart to pray this prayer. That's the difference between saying a prayer that someone may have taught you or that you may have heard or that have just come out of your mind or your head, than praying a prayer which has its origins in your heart because of the Spirit of God that has quickened you or made you alive to do so. Are you getting what I'm saying? And so I pray that those of you who are listening to me, who are participating in this school of prayer, will understand that there is a difference between saying a prayer and praying a prayer. Many times in public situations, you may hear, especially in my background, the preacher would pray during the altar call. And you couldn't tell the difference between the preaching and the praying because he had to hoop and the cadence and the rhythm and the organ was going, the drum was going and all that while he was saying his prayer. Because if you're really going to pray a prayer, a lot of times the thing that God put in your heart to pray, you don't want everybody to hear it. That's why you enter into your closet and pray in secret. Come on, somebody. This is Ken, and I'm your partner in prayer, God's prophetic intercessor, letting you know one more time, something good always happens when we pray. Keep on praying prayers as the Spirit leads you and not just say prayers. All right? We'll talk to you again tomorrow. The Lord say the same. Bye now.